v.h.s.x? What do you mean?
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're here with a brand new video from, I think it's Luminal. I'm gonna put it in the description for you guys to watch it on your own, but the title is Dead by Daylight Fatigue. So I wanted to get into it. I've been experiencing a lot of what is being kind of discussed in this video, from what I'm understanding, at least is going off of just the title. And
at the end of the day, I try to get excited for these new chapters. I remember with Alien, I was so excited for Alien. I actually stayed up all night. I was so excited. And the only reason I stayed up all night for the Alien chapter, PTB, was because I thought we were going to get Nostromo, like an indoor space map. And I thought the exit gates. I was like, oh, how's that going to work? That's so cool. The idea of that kept me up that all night. And when I saw...
Yeah, I completely agree. I was pretty hyped for the Alien chapter and thought we were going to get an Nostromo map. I was excited, honestly. And as you can imagine, the Alien chapter was disappointing. Especially as an Alien fan, just disappointing, in my opinion. The map, one of the worst maps we've had in DBD in a very, very long time. It's just very badly designed. The killer themselves, not my cup of tea by any stretch of the imagination. I remember playing Xeno maybe a few times on release, and I was like, nope. I'm okay. I'm good. I think I'm not going to be playing that. I was like, nope. No, will I get them to P100 in the future? Of course. I've been going through the list of just kind of getting P100s on my favorite movie licenses, but they're definitely pretty low on my priority list in that sense. I just don't think they're very good or well designed, in my opinion, and just not for me. For a myriad of reasons. Just honestly, it's just not ideal, and the visibility issue is very, very terrible because you're so low to the ground. If you're ending up on swamp or something, you're just not able to see that much. It takes up so much of the screen, and I don't like it. I'm not a fan. Let's continue.
All that map, I got so disappointed. And I remember I loaded into my first map and I got fucking Eerie of Crows against Xenomorph, and I was like, okay. And I just was looping Xeno around Shack, and I'm like, you know what? This is all it ever is. It's just running the same killer no matter who it becomes. If it becomes Chucky, or if it becomes the twins, or Trickster, or fucking Houndmaster, it's all the same thing. Just each of them has a different unique power, and that's also something I want to get into. But the thing is there becomes a time where these really, really unique killer powers kind of stop getting unique. And I understand that because, we're getting around to the, 40 killer mark. They're going to stop getting unique. And I would definitely say they stopped getting unique. I want to say probably around Portrait of a Murder. I feel like after that point, when I'm explaining killers to other people, it's more easier just to say of what they're a combination of, especially more.
I hear that a lot with a lot of people who play this game and criticize this game very heavily. I always hear the same routine of, oh, it's just this killer and this killer, and it's a rehash. Oh, it's this killer and this killer, so it's just copy pasted. They're lazy. And it's like, are we not really fully aware of the limitations of this game? Because people are coming up with ridiculous sort of ideas, even when Springtrap was dropping, like, oh, we can have ghosts and other animatronics walking around the map and doing other things. And it's like, do you know how the game works at all? We are all playing the same game, right? It's like, no, it's, the limitations of this game are very apparent. I mean, we can see that with the killers that we have in the game. Ultimately, I have to say that people maybe are not seeing the limitations of the game. And I'm not sure if it's hopeful thinking. I'm not sure if it's because a lot of the people kind of trying to talk about the game are just extremely casual, but there really isn't a lot to work with this game. It's very limited in a lot of ways. We can see that even with an example like Clown and Freddy, for example. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Even Pinhead was very similar in a lot of ways. All about sort of hindering the characters in some kind of way, getting a hit from that.
recently, where Springtrap is obviously just a combination of, you know, Huntress and Xenomorph and kind of Sadako. Then you have the Ghoul, which is Blight and Nurse's love child, which is fucking insane. And you have the Houndmaster, which is basically just kind of like close range Huntress, kind of like Pinhead 2, kind of. I mean, and you can make the argument going back pretty far, but more recently, it's just like it's just an overlap of overlap of overlap. No power is kind of unique, and I understand.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think that there really is a lot to go with this game. I mean, you've already seen when they tried to add something unique like twins, it completely destroyed their game's balancing. So, it completely destroys the game every other update too, right? Like either the twins get broken or the patch is broken, and then twins somehow gets broken, and as a result, this game's code is not optimized in any stretch of the imagination. And the thing is like when we start to water down every killer into, oh, it's just this killer plus that, of course every single killer is just going to look like the other. They're all going to look the same if you dumb it down in that kind of way. And that's another point that I've made in the past, is that every killer can be dumbed down into that, right? And you could say that the original releases, like the ones before the new ones, are the more originals, but you know, let's keep in mind that all of these characters still do the same things because they're all supposed to fit into the box of the cat and mouse experience of DVD. So we have to keep that in mind when we're trying to add in a new character or add in a new thing, because of the balancing of the game and how the code works and how the game functions. So coming up with these ridiculous concepts that I've heard in the past, like for Springtrap having these little ghosts or something walking around with the animatronics, like we have to keep in mind that when they do add licensed characters, for example, there are limitations even from the license holders of how they want their characters to look. So even if you think that you're in your imagination that this game could be different or this character could be different within the game, you still have to keep in mind that the license holders are going to have the final say. And if the license holders and the people running all that stuff just perceive or want to put their character in to fit in that box of the cat and mouse dynamic, it's going to look like Springtrap, or it's going to look like Dracula or whatever characters. Even Pyramid Head might even be a good example. Like I wouldn't even imagine Pyramid Head is the most accurate at all to the source material, I would say. I mean, visually, of course, but the lore doesn't line up, and the power doesn't necessarily line up at all either. I mean, he never does anything that he does in the game, in DVD, in Silent Hill. So, but that's its own discussion.
And why, but man, is it just like ugh. And I really love when we get those super unique killers. For example, I was getting so burnt out of the game around, you know, after dealing with Forged in Fog and Tools of Torment. You know, I liked End Transmission and Alien, but Alien kind of let me down. But Chucky, being one of my most dream licenses in the, like ever, totally revitalized my love in the game. I was playing the shit out of the Chucky chapter. I remember, like, it totally revitalized DBD, mostly because his third person, it was just such a new way to play killer that it...
I do have to also agree. I thought that that Chucky was a wonderful chapter that released, and I am a bit disappointed nowadays, but at least by the release, I would say it was pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and the faithfulness of the source material was so incredible. Even nowadays, I would say there hasn't been a license that has come close to where Chucky's has been in terms of accuracy to the source material. At least in my opinion. Now, obviously, I don't know every single license, so I don't know if Springtrap is closer to accuracy to the source material at all at this point. And I would have to say Chucky is, to me, the golden standard for the accuracy to the source material, considering my other favorite movies are misrepresented in a lot of ways, and overall just it's terrible. So at least, you know, with Chucky, which was actually a recent, which I became a fan recently, I have to say that it's the golden standard here. And I will say that nowadays it is a bit of a shame seeing where he is now. I think Chucky is a hard C tier nowadays. I do not think he's even close to any of the B or A tiers or even the S tiers. Like, God forbid. He used to be an S tier, and I think that's when he was his most fun. I think nowadays he's honestly just as garbage as the others, like C tiers at this point. And it's a damn shame, seeing the fall from grace, but that's just kind of how DBD is. Killer is fun for a bit, and then they get nerfed, and then they're just not that enjoyable anymore. So
it was so cool that honestly, I would say that I loved the game even more after Chucky was added. But here we are with Springtrap, where he's one of my most requested killers of all time. Like, he's one of my dream licenses ever since I started playing Dead by Daylight. My licensed dream list, no matter how unrealistic it was number 1, I wanted Saw, number 2 was Chucky, and number 3 was Springtrap. And no matter how long it was going to take, all 3 of them are here now, and that's fucking awesome. But after getting Springtrap, I should be the happiest, but I don't know. I can't play the game, especially due to being a killer main as well. I definitely say I play both sides because I understand the survivor frustrations. Like, I understand why killers camp and tunnel and have to resort to those things as being a killer main while playing survivor, so I don't really get nearly as frustrated with those things.
Yeah, to touch on that, I think that's probably where the frustration for the vast majority of the survivor players that like to complain about the strategies is because they literally have no understanding as to why it gets done in the first place. And it's really funny because they like to say, "Oh, you should play both sides," but they simultaneously don't. "Oh, it shouldn't be killer-sided at all," and it's like, yeah, because you're just kind of batting for your own side. But keep in mind that this is cat and mouse game where you're going against superpowers, but that's its own discussion. The point being that people who do not play want both sides are unable to really see the perspective from both ends, and therefore have a very, very heavily focused perspective on those things. And the thing is that when you do get arguments from a lot of the survivor players that like to claim it's killer-sided or have these very biased takes, is that they don't actually take the time out to understand. They just kind of point fingers and cry and complain and just like to claim it's low skill. But, it's without understanding how the game works, how the game functions, and understanding MMR. There's like so much nuance. And it's very difficult to just sit there and say, like, you're just not at that level to understand it. Like, you're not experienced enough to understand it, because they immediately, their ego starts getting in the way, and then they won't give you a direct conversation. They're not going to give you a discussion. They're not going to give you anything besides just complaints and just trying to come at you personally. It's like, this discussion is not about ego. It's not even about anything besides the coding here. Like, ultimately, that's how the game functions. This is just how it works. Like, you have to slug and tunnel and camp in certain situations. That's just how it works. If for example, we'll just come up with a feud right off the bat. For example, if you are going against a team with a couple of flashlights and you see somebody running up, like, as you stand over somebody with a flashlight in their hand, you're gonna leave them on the ground, because you're like, okay, if I pick up, I'm just going to get blinded, and now I'm not gonna have a down, I'm only gonna have an injury, and now the gen flies, and now we're extra behind. Because ultimately the gens are like little kitchen timers, and you have to kind of make sure everything's cooked up by the time it rings, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's hard to explain, obviously, in a video like this. Is not the video to really discuss the intricacies of that. But I have to agree with the little dog here. With the little dog guy over here, because when you play both sides, you're able to understand the perspective. When you play one, you're just not going to be able to see everything. And I'm not saying that it applies to every single player, but I'm saying that as long as you can do enough research and be able to kind of see like what other people are experiencing, maybe you'll be able to understand why things go the way they do. And from there, you'll be able to fully understand the game a lot better and have a much more nuanced perspective on the game.
But when it comes to killer, it's just how many times can I kill the same survivors? How many times do I have to deal with the same perks? It's like it's this pool of like 200 perks and you see the same 10 every single time. And yeah, it's cool to play Chaos Shuffle every time it comes around and stuff. But like there's no real incentive for me to play Dead by Daylight. I have every perk unlocked on every character in the game. I'm like what, four and a half P100s, and there's still no rewards for doing that. And it's just all I'm doing is getting blood points to level up, and I've done it enough. And I would say I have a total of about 5,000 hours just in the game in general, shared across like PC and PlayStation. And here's the crazy thing. I platinumed Dead by Daylight on PS4. I platinumed it again on PS5. And then on Steam, I basically unlocked every Steam achievement again. I mean, there's some that I didn't go like get, but I basically got all the adepts and all the regular ones. I just don't care enough for the other ones. But I unlocked every other achievement like 2 other times. It's kind of like hard to kind of really want to do it for the 3rd time too. And I've put a good amount of time into like, I'd say every killer. I remember one time like a few years ago, I really wanted to learn Nurse because it's like, oh, Nurse is the best killer if you really learn her, but she's so hard to learn and you really got to master her. I'm going to keep it honest. Give it like 10 matches, honestly. Figure out how long that blink distance is, really get a hang of it, and that's it. That is serious.
I disagree to some extent. If you are a brand new player, Nurse is not the killer for you. If you are, say, way more experienced, like he's claiming it's like a 5k hours type of thing. If you have 5k hours, of course you're gonna have a much better opportunity, I would have to say, because Nurse is all about predictions and being able to catch them on that, right? So if you have enough hours, you're going to be able to predict movement, be able to predict positioning, and if you play Survivor, you'll be able to also kind of understand positioning. So I would take that sort of statement with a grain of salt. I would say I wouldn't recommend any new players to hop on Nurse first. It's just simply not. You're just not going to be able to adjust to any other killers in the game.
That is it. There is way more complex things that you can learn on other killers, and I think Nurse gets way more credit. She is way too easy for how good she is, and I just think the fact that she stands in the way that she still does is kind of insane, because I can turn my brain off, I can run Nurse training wheels build, and I'll win every match. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to have fun doing that. The survivors aren't going to have fun going against it. So instead of playing Nurse and winning every match, I want to play some of the more unique killers that offer more unique gameplay, like Chucky's 3rd-person camera angle.
I will say one thing though, and this is a take that we're only seeing maybe from killers. I would think. I don't ever see this ever from survivors per se, but I could be wrong. But a take that we're hearing right now is like, hey, like they aren't gonna have fun, and I'm not gonna have fun, so I'm not going to play this thing. And it's like, I wish that was like that for both ends, right? Can you imagine if the community was really dedicated to actually worrying about other people's fun and not just survivors begging killers to only cater to them? It would actually be a pretty interesting community in its culture, right? Because if everybody was really worried about each other's fun, they wouldn't be running half of the stuff that they do. So I gotta say, shout out to this creator for at least, not running Nurse, I guess. But ultimately, I've always stated, just worry about your own fun. You can't sit here and even try to fathom what other people think is fun at this point. So just focus on what you have fun with, because at the end of the day, you're the one who bought the game. At the end of the day, you have to walk away having fun because it is a game you bought. It's your free time. You should be able to enjoy what you're playing, and if you're not, then you should be playing something else.
And it doesn't help that this community, like the Dead by Daylight community, and not speaking for everyone, but like some of the people in it and some of the groups are just not good, and definitely puts a horrible, branding and light on the name of the community. I can especially name one instance. I think during the anniversary event, a dev.
I completely agree, and I think they're about to bring up the point with the dev getting flamed for just saying they don't like Skull Merchant. And no, I completely agree. This community is awful. Like for the most part, you know, the bad apples kind of ruin the bunch. There are obviously good apples, but the bad apples ruin the bunch. I mean, the fact that a dev can sit there and just make a throwaway joke, and the goblins come out of the sewers to to brigade them is absolutely insane. There's like a bunch of ridiculous, like, you know, delusional, mindless people that are all over the place when in this community, that have no understanding of the game, have no understanding of either side, have no understanding of how this game functions, and blindly follows a strange morality to a video game. It's a bunch of pixels, but it's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And it's just a shame that, you know, there are good people that are level-headed and actually, you know, use some critical thinking when they load up this game. So it's a damn shame that we can also look at the entire community and still go, yeah, this is just a big pile of sewage.
Very lightheartedly, because of all the hate around Skull Merchant, said, yeah, I don't like Skull Merchant either. I thought that was funny. As a Skull Merchant hater myself, I thought that was comical. But I think someone ended up doxing them. So yeah, that's kind of, you know, the community, and it's kind of like hard to be like, wow, yeah, this is also the community of the game I play. It kind of fucking sucks. But obviously it doesn't speak for all of it, but man. And Dead by Daylight has a very big place to me, obviously being one of the main games that I played part of my Nightmare Blunt rotation, which was Apex Legends, Dead by Daylight, and Rainbow Six Siege. And after watching Apex become a glorified shot more than a video game, and Rainbow Six Siege making me want to kill myself every single time I loaded into the game, Dead by Daylight was kind of it. And now Dead by Daylight is kind of not super as fun as it used to be. I still love the game, but I'm definitely burnt out of it. But this obviously isn't going to stop the chapter retrospectives I still plan on doing.
I do agree with the with that concept. I'm burnt out with the game. I've been burnt out, you know, in waves, I would say, with DBD, and I can't say the last time I've had fun, I would say, with this game. The only time I can really recall was probably just 2v8, but this game is just has not been fun for me for a very long time, you know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that it is the case. Just looking at the killers I play, I can kind of see why in retrospect. I mean, all the killers I play are bottom of the barrel, garbage, low tier killers, and it just makes sense. You know, the majority probably aren't playing that, you know what I mean? The majority are not playing Freddy or playing, well, pre-rework Freddy nowadays, you could say, back in the day. Ghostface, Myers, even Chucky nowadays, like, golly, all of them completely just dog water, garbage, like completely terrible characters. You know, the majority are playing Wesker and Blight and Nurse and Dracula and Kaneki, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, you know, must be fun. And you know, I just don't have an interest in it, you know what I mean? It's just a damn shame. And that's its own dilemma, I think, that I experience. It's like, there's just really not a killer, I think, that just taps in like to what I could find fun. The killer just doesn't exist or something, I don't know. And it's a shame. I mean, I can understand how to play the characters, but even with understanding it just isn't fun to me. And it's a damn shame. But let me know if you guys relate to that in the comment section. Original video will be linked in the description. While you're down there, check out links to support the channel, and consider following on Twitch to watch me play Killer live, and maybe on TikTok as well to see some funny memes and clips. I'll see you guys in the next video.